Mike Coos. He's in back.
Mike Coos here.
Go on there.
Okay. Okay, I am ready.
Good, all right. 7 o'clock, December 19th, I call the council meeting to order. Roll call.
Bennett.
Here.
Bertolo.
Here.
Lane.
Here.
Neely.
Here.
Sinning.
Here.
Witecki.
Here.
Matthews.
Here, please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting's been provided by the annual schedule of regular meetings herefore adopted and posted on the public bulletin board at the municipal building, emailed to the Hawthorne Press, the Herald News, the Record, the Gazette, and all persons who've requested the mailing of such schedule. A copy of said schedules remained on file in the office of the Borough Clerk from and since December 7, 2017. Approval of the minutes. Can I have an approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of November 28, 2018, and the bid minutes for the tennis courts project?
So moved.
Motion by Bertolo, second by Witecki. Any discussion? Roll call.
Witecki.
Yes.
Sinning.
Yes.
Mealy.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Bertolo.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Public comment. I'll now open the meeting to the public. If anyone desires to be heard, please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address on agenda items. Anyone wish to be heard? Seeing none, I entertain a motion of the public portion of the meeting be closed.
So moved.
Motion by Witecki, second by Bennett. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I was waiting for one of those young ladies to raise their hands.
That's why I gave him an opportunity, but
Scola,
They could've
you have
cheered
a
a
lot to
question
say.
or something.
Where's Scola? She has a lot to say. How'd you not get up there?
nah, putting him on the spot. Adoption of ordinances, we have none this evening. Old business, Joe, we'll start your way.
All right, let's start with the garbage company. Eric, could we please have an update?
I had a meeting with the head of the garbage company. He has changed the driver in the hopes that will improve things, and that won't happen immediately. A new driver has to learn the routes. He's assured me that they were going to check all the trucks to make sure that the plugs were in the hoppers, and that they would do that on a regular basis. He knows, because I told him, that we will be deducting for non-completion of routes and for any other violations of the terms and conditions of the contract, and we will see what that yields.
Joe, I also had conversations with Eric regarding, entire streets like Ray Ave and Sixth Ave that were missed during a bulky waste. Someone had put out a bunk bed set that they broke down, and it was more pieces than it was allowed, so they just left it there. And the person called up and they said, well, you should have just left the bed intact. It would have been the number of pieces required. Then we would have picked it up. That's unacceptable. It's not our people.
Oh, the garbage
Yeah, the garbage company for bulky waste. It's not our people that's doing it. So, I mean, Eric's had some serious talks with them. Just for those following along, we could certainly go to another vendor, but we'd be talking many, many thousands of dollars more. So we're trying to enforce our current contract with the current vendor. We were very nice in the beginning, but now we're back charging them pretty much weekly.
And we really just can't go to another vendor. We have a contract that,
No, you would have to for cause, but they're a violation of our contract, and there's a long process that could happen. But we're not happy.
And if we shut it down, we'd have to terminate the contract. Then we couldn't just do a new contract for the balance of this. We'd have to bid for that.
Yep.
That takes a minimum of 120 days from the time you advertise to open it. So it's really almost 6 months. So you'd have to get a 6-month interim contract and pay top dollar for that, and then still take your chances with the next with an actual bid. And so, it's not something we would decide we will never do, but it's not something that should be decided lightly, because it's because you could end up spending more money and end up with somebody who doesn't do much better in the service. As you recall, when we started with B&B, after their first couple weeks on the job to learn the town, they ended up doing a much better job than we had been receiving before. And for some reason that we don't quite understand, maybe the drivers they've had, it's gone downhill. And so I think it makes, and so there's no guarantee that another company with the drivers, that they would have available to them, would necessarily do better. We would expect that, but there's no guarantee. So we think that we need to try to fix this vendor before making that choice, costing ourselves some money, and maybe not ending up with a better solution than if we had worked on this current hauler.
That's why I brought it up, Eric,
I
so you
just
could
wanna-
explain it.
To just clarify, by saying taking it lightly, I've been questioning my
understand.
concerns since June about this hauler.
Absolutely, and I agree, and we were in the communication stage, probably, and I'll admit, maybe spent too long just communicating the issues, and now we are imposing the penalties,
Right.
and we will see if the contractual remedies we have work, and we hope they do. If they don't, we may be in a position where we have to decide to do something else.
Eric, in the past, we've discussed it here. We've received complaints also from residents with regard to trucks breaking down, mechanical problems with it. Have those problems been addressed? Because now that we're going into the winter, it's likely that more mechanical problems may occur because of the weather.
They know that if trucks break down, they have to, the problem is then they have to bring in replacements quickly, as opposed to say, truck broke down, we'll wait till tomorrow. And that's part of the problem we've had, that we haven't finished routes, partly because trucks are broken down. And so, but if they know they're gonna get the withholding every time they don't finish a route, if they do that 15, 20 times a month, they're going to be losing a substantial amount of money. They have to understand that it's cheaper for them to get good equipment than it is to lose that much money in their contract.
Okay, thank you.
Eric, just one last comment on that with the nixles. I know you and I had spoken 2 weeks ago about sending out a nixle regarding when they don't pick up, just to leave it out. It happened again the next week for the other pickups on a Friday.
If we
So just
don't-
please communicate a little bit with the residents a
Well,
little bit better.
We need to know. And the
But our police department drives around all the time. They see when it's
Yeah.
Friday and it hasn't been picked up in District 4, I'm using mine as an example,
Right.
then they just said, hey, we should send out a
Right.
nixle
I mean,
because you're not here
that's
on the weekend.
internal communication with us, but
Yes.
and we will work with the police on that to see if we, or anytime overnight. If it's out overnight, they'll know that.
It wasn't picked up.
Correct.
If it's there after 7 or 8 o'clock at night, they know that it's not going to be picked up more.
That's all I'm
So-
asking for. Anything else, Joe?
Yes, just one. 46 Outlook. I had sent an email. I was just wondering if you could give me an update on where we stand with that property maintenance.
I've referred it to property maintenance, and I'll check where they are. So I know it's been a recurring problem there.
You had
So-
replied that summonses were issued. I'm just curious where we stand on that.
Oh, I think that was with the other property that you had raised, that summonses had been issued.
The other property had COC.
Yeah, I mean, we'd initially issued summonses, and then we pulled that, and I didn't know. I was not, if there were summonses on 46 Outlook, they weren't there without me knowing, it had been issued without me knowing, because my reference to summonses was for the other property. that we
All right,
got.
so my comments are that the property looks exactly as it did when I sent in the complaint. So if we can now issue summons.
And again, we may have, I'll check on the
You have
status.
to remember, a notice of violation gives them a certain amount of time to fix the violation.
All summer long, we've been sending them notice of
Okay.
violations.
So then they,
And we send summons, and the summons doesn't fix a problem either. That may get them to court, but it doesn't fix the violation.
Eric, did you inform Joe on the other property that he's been bringing up?
Yes.
That the
I was
certificate
going
has
to
been
thank
revoked?
him under new business.
Last night at the planning board, they the zoning officer said that his certificate of compliance has been revoked, and he's got 30 days to cease and desist and move out.
It's not even 30.
No, he
Yeah,
wants them
end-
out by the
December
first of the
31st.
year.
Yeah, I'm sorry, end of the year.
So
Okay,
also
I didn't know if you
say
knew
thank
that.
now.
Okay, I'll thank the zoning officer for that.
Gary?
Nothing other than, I don't know whether they, go back to the garbage contractor, as of 4:30, they hadn't done my area now, so I don't know.
They never do.
I'll send you an Excel.
So I don't know what they did or
Well,
not.
my wife didn't text me, so chances are they got the garbage, so.
Sometimes they do come later than that, but
As of 4:30 or 5, because I talked to the DPW coordinator, and as of that time, we had no knowledge that they weren't completing the work tonight. So if we find out that that's different, then we will send out the notice.
they never know what time they're gonna come. Sometimes they come in the morning, sometimes they come late in the afternoon, really don't know when they're ever coming. That's all I have.
John?
No, Eric and I spoke the other day about a number of topics, so I'm good.
Bruce? No, we're good. Tom?
Okay.
John?
Yeah, also Eric and I spoke today on a number of things, but Eric, has the CO been issued for the new Public Works garage?
The final, I'm not sure. I know we had the temporary. 'cause
We had a
didn't use
temporary,
it.
I know that.
I'll have to check.
Okay, and also, I don't know if you know this, but has the CO been issued for 300 Lincoln Avenue?
I can answer that question. They were missing a couple of items that the architect was supposed to supply to the building official, who was going to hopefully sign off by tomorrow, and then Bob Keinel would be able to sign off by Friday. So hopefully by Friday, they'll have their CO.
Okay. During this past year, we had put in we had some grant money, and we put in a number of LED lights throughout the borough buildings. Is that project completed, or do we still have some more buildings and light
I
fixtures to take care
believe
of?
this room hasn't been done yet because they had a different type of fixture than throughout the building, and they were still waiting on delivery on those. I think other than that, I think they completed the other buildings, but I'll check on that.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Frank.
The boiler that they're putting in this building, they haven't done yet, but we expect
We're waiting
that-
for February?
Well, probably March. That's because we didn't want to be doing it in the middle of winter. So I think they told us the schedule is for March.
Also, I just want to make mention that last week I sent Eric a text message about 9 o'clock at night because there was no heat in the ambulance building for the seniors to come first thing in the morning, and the servicemen showed up later on that night. So thank you, Eric.
I'll thank Bob.
Thanks,
Thank
Bob.
Elliot Lewis.
That's all I have, Frank.
I just had one thing regarding public service. I know you've had a lot of conversations with them regarding their new gas program that's going to be digging up a lot of areas, majority of Ward 1, some in 3 and 4. I know I've been on you to stress to them, the patchwork repairs on Cornell Ave are just being dragged out. It's taken 2 or 3 years for them to find a leak, and it looks like a checkerboard worth of patches. So they're not going to dig up and trench the whole area and replace the whole line. When are we going to get a schedule of whether they found a leak, and when are they going to repave the entire section that they've ripped up?
I will find out from PSE&G. I've asked Bob to look into the road opening permits to make sure that the.
So I can guarantee they didn't have them the first time, because when I showed up, the person looked at me and it was like it was a new thing.
Oops, yeah, but
How about we don't start Ward 1, District 1 until we finish with 4?
I don't have
I
a problem.
don't think we have the ability to stop them, so.
Well, you do when it comes to police detail.
Road opening.
Public utility.
Yeah, but we can tell them when we want it and when we're having police detail to do when.
But they're going to tell you it's an emergent situation that they have to get it
Replacing
done.
every single gas line is not an emergent situation.
Well, if
If
it's
if
If
they're
it's leak,
laying-
it is.
Leaking they are.
Well, the leak is on Cornell, they've been chasing for 3 years now.
Well,
So how much of an emergency has that been?
I have no
Well,
idea.
Frank, they did the same thing on Goffel Road from Watchung all the way up to the Five Corners. They dug up sections, and then finally they dug up the whole road and put a whole new line in. They patched it up, and about 2 months later, they came back and paved that one whole side. So, I mean, if there's a bunch of leaks, they should just dig it up and put a whole new
I'm
line
only
in.
bringing it up now because there's a number of areas in town where they have done patchwork, and they're looking to do an entire town-wide program coming up next year let's wrap up what we have ongoing before we
I don't disagree with
start a
that.
whole new project.
Right, I don't disagree with that.
I mean, it's two sides of the same thing. We have to, the stuff that they're doing on a, as, dealing with the problems that crop up, that's one thing. But I think that what they're trying to do to upgrade the overall service is something that will prevent the type of chasing leaks that they're having to do. So I mean, I don't think we have to give up on one in order for them to proceed on the other, but we need to insist that they take care of the leak chasing.
Finish what you
that they're
start
doing.
before you start a new project. Quit while you're ahead.
I'm not saying anything.
Okay, new business. Joe, do you have any new business?
I do. Only one item. The auto mechanic on Waggerall Road seems to be using the ball field lots now.
The
Oh,
auto mechanic?
Yep.
The old Kearns across
That's
the
correct.
I don't know,
sublots.
I will check, because we do yet let Universal use
Nope,
the
it's not
the lots on
Universal.
occasion.
And this is the
When
lot
they're
that is
having-
further.
You're talking about the Lefebvre rubber lot?
Well, that would be the one across from Curran, is the old Lefebvre rubber line.
Right, so it's the Lefebvre, all right, we'll have them check.
And that's it.
Gary, John.
I'm gonna do a commercial for Lori. You can help me out if I'm wrong, but I believe it's March 6th is Youth in Government Night.
Yes, there it is.
So all you ladies who are having so much fun tonight watching this, you can be a part of it all on March 6th.
Yes, please, sign
So,
up.
And
We
Mr.
have fun.
Ward is taking care of that yet?
No, he doesn't do it anymore. Mr. Corvo
At the
does it.
beginning of the year, it's actually Matt Corvo.
Oh, Mr. Corvo, okay.
Mr.
So
Corvo,
Go to
yes.
Mr. Corvo tomorrow and tell him you want to be part of Youth in Government on March 6th.
Yeah,
And there's a free
And
dinner
you get fed. It's usually a pretty good meal.
nice dinner.
And then you get to have all the
at
fun.
Patagra.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Ash Wednesday.
And you get to sit up there.
You'll be
in
getting
case
a
you
fish
want to
dinner.
run the
Yeah.
show.
You'll be getting a fish dinner.
Yeah,
at
right,
Patagra.
it's Ash Wednesday, so we're gonna have fish.
Not all of us.
Yeah,
Not you, Mayor?
Is it?
He's got a big pork chop lined up.
That's all I have.
yeah, I looked at the calendar, I'm like,
Bruce.
Oh,
It's
no, I
okay.
can't top that.
I'm okay. John.
I'm good.
Okay, I'm good too. Now turning to the administrative agenda presented by Mayor Goldberg. Mayor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to start the evening by thanking Bill Monahan for his years of service to the Borough of Hawthorne and the Planning Board. Bill is retiring from the Planning Board, and we want to thank him and wish him well. Bill really has served, I think you said 6 mayors. We were looking at the,
22 different years.
over 22 different years, so,
Six mayors, yeah.
right, so Bill really
It's
needs.
not retiring.
He's not
just-
retiring from
he's-
practice,
Right, he's
though.
keeping his
Only
practice
planning
life. He
board.
doesn't want to go out to meetings in the evening anymore. I guess he has problems driving at night, but that's a whole nother
He is
conversation.
an employee, and I don't agree with any statements you just made.
Wow.
he wants to spend more time with his grandkids.
In Pennsylvania. So you figure that out.
It's a long ride.
Exactly.
Also, thank you to Linda Missinelli, who after 25-plus years as the trustee of the library board, has decided to step down, and we will certainly miss Linda's contributions to the board. Also on good news, our court administrator, Erica, has received her certified municipal court administrator certificate. It's a long time since you had a certified municipal court administrator here. I think maybe back to Faber, I think may have been the last one we had. Or with Lori Ellicott?
I think.
No, they all were.
Christine was.
Christine was.
Christine, okay.
Christine was, and I think Katie Bigger was.
Okay, so apparently it's not that important, so why bother
It isn't.
reporting it out? I
Very
don't know.
important.
Okay. Apparently it's important to some.
Why don't we gloss over that comment?
Yeah. I also want to thank the Hawthorne Christian Academy for the generous donation of food to our food pantry. I happened to be coming into the building as the class was there bringing their food up, so I was able to help carry. I carried it. I didn't eat it. I know you were. I know where you were going. But it was a class project, and it was great to see the kids involved and bringing food in to help those Hawthorne families who are less fortunate. The borough tree lighting was held on November 30th, and I'd like to thank a few people and groups who made the event a success. Frank Scola at Bagels Express and Anne-Marie Sasso at Remax Group, thank you for your generous donation each year of the hot cocoa. To Dunkin' Donuts, Golfer Road South, thank you for the hot coffee. And to Keith Williams and the Hawthorne High School Band, Casey Schretner, I knew that, and the high school cheerleaders, and the Passaic County Tech Institute Tectones, and Cubmaster John Minke, Assistant Cubmaster Peter Slump, Pack 30. Thank you to all for being part of this important celebration. We had a great turnout, and everyone enjoyed special treats, giveaways, face painting, a balloon artist, so thanks to everyone for such a great tree lighting. The 2019 Borough Calendar should be mailed out this Friday, so please check your mail for it next week. Just a reminder, a leaf pickup continues for street leaves until December 28th. And most important, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a happy and healthy New Year to everyone. And tonight, we'd like to recognize and honor our Hawthorne High School varsity cheerleaders, their coach, Casey Schretner, right? We got that right? Allison Christie, Janine Chalimi, exactly.
You want them to read it?
Jenner Alvarez.
Spell your name down.
This doesn't get much easier. Nicole Giovanello, close enough?
Close enough.
Okay. Nicole Spirito, I know I got that one right. Sydney Bavaro, Gianna Scola, Gianna Focini, Emily Kempner, and Mackenzie Scrivens. They were most recently nominated by the National Cheerleading Association for sportsmanship, dancing, tumbling, and stunting skills, and recognition for participating in the varsity parade held at Walt Disney World, honoring their success and the success of the high school varsity cheerleading squad. I'd asked that the coach and the cheerleaders join me up for a presentation in the front of the room. So, ladies, if you would come on up.
Move the.
Okay, girls, the camera's there, so if you're not by me, no one at home. Sure, we'll get to see you. So if you told somebody you were going to be somewhere else with someone else, I would duck in the background.
They're high school kids.
Wait,
you tell them to cut
you
class
gotta
next
put a seat in here. Come on, you organize this better. Slide
Okay.
over.
Move closer.
Slide-
He won't bite.
Move closer to the middle.
And shorter people in front.
Shorter people in the front.
Joe, put them in the
scroll up.
pyramid.
You're tall. Come on over here.
Come on.
Okay, thank
Get the
you.
big guy out of the picture, it'll be easier.
Really? Really?
They have to turn.
The
Just like home,
certificate
Joe, they
reads,
don't listen to you.
reads the Borough of Hawthorne, a certificate of recognition. Be it known that this certificate is presented to Hawthorne High School varsity cheerleader. This one says Allison Christie, I found one I could pronounce. For being nominated, well, you know what it's for being nominated, for all of the great things you do, for being part of the parade. We at the borough are very proud of what you did representing the borough and representing your school. So I have certificates for you, and I'm going to give that to you, John. First one goes to Allison. That's for you. Okay, Janine.
Yeah, he's going for the easy one.
Trina. Nicole. Which one? It's Nicole Giovanniello.
This is on TV.
Now Nicole Spirito. Cindy Bavaro. Gianna Stoll. Gianna Foscini. But wait, there's more. Emily Kempner.
Nepper.
Wow. You should know.
It's making us look good.
Mackenzie Scrivens. Everyone has one? So this must be for Casey Schredner. The squad there surprised him, right?
I did.
Didn't expect him. Casey, you want to say anything about the girls?
Oh,
Here's the mic back.
I think the fact that I flew down to visit them means everything and kind of shows how much I support them and how much I enjoy them. And I really do love spending time with them. They've worked really hard, and I don't think it's common for this many people to be nominated. So congratulations, and I'm happy you guys got to experience that.
All right, if you guys could just get close to the mayor, we're going to take one final, hold your certificates, please make sure they're right side up. There we go.
Quick.
1, 2, 3.
No flash, Joe.
Any?
Oh, okay, just check.
And the good news is I'm not the top of the pyramid. Thank you, lady.
Thank you, Max.
I can say that.
Yeah, you're making TiVo and everything, really?
You're not going to let them leave?
Run now if you want.
Yeah, you guys can, you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting.
We got homework to do. No. Yeah, that's
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Have a good day.
Okay, good
Have a
night.
fun meeting.
Okay.
There you go.
Kepner, take care of it.
Good night. Good night.
You can have those.
You too.
Put the M before you leave.
Oh, yeah?
I'm betting not one of them signs up for youth in government now.
No, we scared them away.
Chase them away.
Why are they running now?
Just another Norm Crosby moment for me. That's
Oh, my
it.
God.
Maybe Norm the mailman. but-
Yeah, how'd you get Nepper wrong?
Yeah.
A Nepper?
Well, I have dyslexia. Apparently, I saw the E before the N.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you didn't hire me for elect me for my reading ability.
Why did we?
You can leave it open. You can leave it open.
Okay. Council President, at this time I call upon my esteemed borough attorney for his esteemed legal report.
I don't know how to follow that.
He's not even gonna try your name.
No, I don't. I have no names written in my report, thank God. I do want to thank on behalf of my wife's family, the Shafalos, those who paid respects to my mother-in-law, Scotty, who passed away. Condolences to Dr. Boswell, who lost his mom a couple weeks ago. And been a rough year for a lot of people, but Stephen, our thoughts are with you. I want to report on the affordable housing front, which is ongoing discussions continue with not just the owner of 204 Wagner Road, but also other property owners and, more importantly, the Fair Share Housing Center, which has intervened in this matter. We have a conference now on January 8th before Judge Brogan, at which time we are going to start hopefully presenting an idea of how we intend to comply with the mandates of Mount Laurel, what is now Mount Laurel 4. With regard to our zoning ordinance amendments, I know Gary doesn't have this info, but I do. Eric and I did receive 215 pages of zoning ordinance amendments. We are going through them page by page just to make sure there's no typos, errors, things that were looked over. I did my first 30 or 40 pages, found a few little things to tweak here and there. By the year's end, we expect to be able to have everybody getting copies. That will be the planning board, the zoning board, everybody up here in the dais, some people in the building, so that we can really now get this thing done. Highview at Hawthorne trial did start, as I told you before. We're just down to looking at what the borough's obligation is, if anything, to maintain the roughly 400 feet of roadway we own in front of the water tank there. We're also having discussions to see if we can resolve that. And finally, on behalf of the band shell, if you get tomorrow's Hawthorne Press, you will see an ad that the band shell committee took out to thank our sponsors for a fantastic 2019 season. We went out and within a matter of weeks raised all the money we needed so that we could present concerts all season long at no cost to the taxpayers of Hawthorne. Quality of our shows were fantastic when we didn't have rainouts, which we had a few, but we had some great performances. We're starting to look at 2019, and it will be bigger and better than ever. We've had 3 great years, and our 4th year will be our best, since our 3rd year was better than 2nd, and we keep building. Other than that, Merry Christmas to everybody, and a happy, healthy New Year.
Thank you, Michael. I now call upon Borough Engineer Stephen Boswell for his report.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to thank the people of Hawthorne for their sympathies. I and my family really appreciate that. Band shell restrooms, we have not gotten a response yet back from Montone, but we'll keep pushing to get the ADA path put in. It's just that time of year where people just don't seem to answer the phone. The Goffin Hill Water Storage Tank tonight with our 19818, you're approving the LSRP services to clean up the contamination that was found at that tank from previous years and years ago of lead that had fallen on the ground. The Water Asset Management Plan, we completed phase 1A and B, and now phases 2 and 3 are going to authorize tonight with our 19918. DPW building, I'm sure everyone's seen it. As John said, it currently has at least a DCO, might even have the full CO now, because all the things that were necessary were there. The paving, Smith-Sonny did a very, very good job of paving the base course. So it all came out nicely, and then we'll look in the spring to put a surface course on and also perhaps pave the rest of the lot around the back of the building when we do that. 2018 road program, half the punch list items have been addressed, and if the weather holds off, we will get the other half of those done hopefully soon before the next meeting. Mary Street water tank, we completed all the work outside in terms of tank painting. All the improvements on the top of the tank roof and the valves and the piping inside the valve chamber has all been done. The scaffolding and the containment protection have all been removed, and the area outside the tank cleaned up, and the existing bolts are being replaced with new bolts being added to inside the tank. The one thing that was someone asked about before was the drainage improvements up at the Goffin Hill tank. We are going to take those improvements out of Braves' contract because they really shouldn't be done until we do the remediation, because we don't want to improve the drainage and then just dig it up with the remediation. So we'll do the remediation, and in the remediation contractor's contract, we'll put in the item to fix the drainage up there. So we'll do all that so we don't have to do anything twice. No change, Washington Avenue drainage improvements, the application's in for a grant. 2019 municipal local aid, which is Arlington Ave Phase 2 and Alexandria Ave, is into the DOT. The library roof leaks, a purchase order was issued to Pano Roofing. The work is expected to be done the first week in January, first or second week, weather dependent, $2,700 to put on some of that green metal flashing that should solve the problem. Tonight, with R 218, you're going to reject the bids for the tennis court because the person who gave the bid that was well within scope had a fatal flaw in their bid. So we're going to reject. We're going to go back out and bid again. It'll be re-advertised on December 26th. The bids are received on January 9th at 11 o'clock, and this time he will put in the correct paperwork. And you see, by the way, from the numbers there, the difference. The low bid was 109,000, the high bid was 200,000. Yeah. You know, and you're basically buying a product and installing it, so it's kind of incredible. And the first bid, of course, is where it ought to be. Tax map updates will be done by the end of this month. And one thing that the Nixon Court drainage improvements, we issued a PO to put in some work associated with the drainage improvements. That will be done January 2nd and 3rd, weather dependent. Last 2 items. One item, the pumps down at the South Effluent Station, which were put in around 1945, plus or minus, are having some problems. Most of these problems we've done without going out to bid because we could do them for small amounts, but these pumps probably have to be replaced at this point. So we're going to prepare plans and specs and bid that going out. And the last thing is something we've talked about, had a couple of meetings, it's been in the newspaper. It's a PFOA and a PFNA, these perfluorocarbons that have been found in drinking water supplies. It's a ubiquitous chemical in the environment. It's what makes a stain-resistant carpet stain-resistant, and what makes your Teflon pan no stick. It's what makes your Gore-Tex jacket, et cetera. It's a whole bunch of things. There's a lot of it out there. I'll make an editorial comment. I don't believe that the limits they are setting nationally and at the state are health-based. I believe it's detection-based, meaning that since we can pick it up to these very low levels, we want it out at those low levels. And these levels are incredibly low. We're talking about 13 for one and 14 for the other parts per trillion. You know, up until now, we always talked about parts per million. Every once in a while, we talked about parts per billion. We're now talking about parts per trillion. And I like Eric's metaphor for it. It is one drop of water in 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about parts per trillion.
Steve, where's it coming from, you know? Do they know?
It's manufactured. It's a
It's into
chemical
the ground?
manufactured. It's in the environment. It's pretty much everywhere. Now, the one good note is that we had some preliminary testing done, and we weren't very far over even these ridiculously low levels. So when we test again, the requirements are going to require us to test in 2020 and implement improvements in 2021. The administration likes to stay ahead of the curve on these things, so we're looking at designing improvements next year, if necessary, when we start the testing. So we just put this in, the solution, I don't know how much detail you want me to go into, Mayor. The solution is granulated activated carbon. It removes organics, basically all organics. It will not remove, like if your water's hard water, it has iron in it, it's not taking any of those. That won't take those minerals and salts. But it will take out, and the reason it's important is because if they come up with another chemical to regulate that we don't now know about, like these are, this will take it out if it's organic. We will put them at the north and south field station. We will put them after the air strippers, because the air strippers remove certain things that would also be removed by the carbon, so it would use up the carbon sooner if we don't remove it first. So we'll put it after the air strippers where we have air strippers, and obviously you have to put it all points of entry into the system. We have 4. We have the south field, the north field, Utter Ave, and 1 other well that directly enter into the water system. So all the other wells come together and enter at a different point. The other thing we will look at when we do the analysis is it possible to take the other wells and bring them into the system in a different place and thereby not need as many treatment systems? The maximum we would need is 4. If we can reduce it to even 3, it's a big savings. So we'll take a look at doing that as well. And other than that, Mayor, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Steve. Now, my cleanup hitter, my borough administrator, Eric Maurer?
Something like that,
Maurer,
yeah. Okay,
Knepper.
thank you. Before you on the at your seats are 2 revised resolutions, the budget transfer R203 and a resolution for the purchase of vehicles R201. We had 2 police vehicles totaled in separate accidents in the past several weeks. The purchase will replace these 2, plus we'll have 1 for the building department that was budgeted this year. The resolutions before you tonight for the transfer and the purchase of the cars have been revised to reflect the 3rd car. We will have insurance money coming that will pay for part of the 2 police cars because that we received, and the other money is coming out of the UCC fees that we get. Given the scarcity of cars available, there's still a question whether we'll actually get all 3, because by the time we can issue a purchase order tomorrow, the limited supply may be gone, but we're certainly attempting that. And the problem is that when the available supply is gone, they're not making any more of the 2019s, then we wouldn't have, then no cars would be available until they started making 2020s, and so we'd be looking at sometime this fall. And just the condition of the fleet is such that we just don't feel we can wait that long, so we need to get the vehicles that we can get. Second thing, a reminder that our 2019 parking permits are now on sale on police records. And so people should be looking to get those before the start of the new year if they park on the street near the train station. Since the past council meeting, I had a meeting with our tree contractor who is committed to taking care of pending removals and trims by year's end. The interim report I received from them indicates that significant progress has been made towards that end. We've also agreed upon an improved process for work orders and reporting of work done to facilitate information back to us so that we can get it to the residents. Talked about the garbage hauler. And then the final thing is I had an initial meeting with the state contract vendor to start looking at fiber as an alternative to our copper radio tie lines from Verizon, with the goal of saving money and also improving reliability, especially with the prospect that Verizon is going to pull out from providing these copper lines at some point, and we need to have ability to get to our remote sites. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Eric. Council President will be happy to answer any questions.
Joe, we'll start your way.
Thank you.
It's Christmas.
Oh, you're very kind tonight. The tent question I had sent you that was installed on the property across the street from the 7-Eleven by the south area. What is that? You said you were going to get back to me.
It was across from the 7-Eleven.
The old Golden Steer property.
Okay.
Right. What is it? It's like,
I mean, it's something, it was approved, what the zoning.
you said you were going to check to make sure what they built
Right.
is what was approved, and
Yeah.
you didn't think it was.
And the answer is...
No, I wasn't sure whether it was.
Yeah, I
so.
think the answer is that it wasn't what was approved. The claim is that it's supposed to be better. We're not quite sure of that yet, so we're still
No, we
discussing.
were waiting for them
That's
to.
the, Frank, that's the concrete plant?
I haven't been down.
Okay.
Yeah,
You can't miss
apparently-
it.
It looks like a
Come
big
down
balloon.
Mohawk Avenue, and it looks like a tent going to the
So
Passaic River.
so they did a tensile structure versus a hard
Right,
roof.
versus
And-
metal
and so we were
structure.
waiting for details on the structure to be reviewed, to determine whether we believe that, whether it's acceptable or not.
Well, did they
Could
get-
we have our
did they get
engineer, or
permits?
Well, the engineer is supposed to be
We
looking.
have to get the information from them, and I don't know that we had the information from them yet.
You
So
can't
that-
miss it. Come down
Right,
Westerville or
they
Mohawk,
claim,
you'll see it.
the property owner claims it's a superior product to what they agreed to do. We're waiting for somebody in building or engineering to tell us that they're correct in their assessment.
But even if they're correct, that's not what the planning board approved. He should be putting in what was approved by the planning board.
I can't argue with that.
And if it's different, why were building permits issued if it's different?
Well, again,
So-
building
Was there a
permits
stop
were
work order
issued
put?
because I think it was already completed by the time they recognized that it was the wrong material. That's why it didn't pass inspection, because it didn't match what was on the plan. So now the question is what they put in, is that acceptable, or will we have them remove that to put in what was approved by the planning board? In other words, they came in for their building permits. We said, okay, here are the plans, you know what you're supposed to be building, and they came up with something that they believed was better than what they agreed to do. We just haven't been convinced yet that that's what it is.
So it's 300 Lincoln Ave all over again.
No, it's very different. This
Don't
is,
do what's on the plans, just do what you want to do.
this building is not anything that was
No, I'm just saying,
approved by
a
anybody.
client, a property owner that gets approvals, but just
Right.
doesn't build what's on the drawings that were approved.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, not
Yeah,
apple to apple.
this doesn't
Process.
look anything like what was in the building department or approved by the planning board.
I would
drive
like,
by it all the time, I can't believe it went up.
I would like to make a suggestion. No offense against our building department, but I think our engineering department should take a look at this and look at the structure, look at everything, because as far as I'm concerned, take it down and put up what was approved. Maybe because it cost too much money to put up what was approved, and now they went to a substitute.
I think they claimed, John, that this was more expensive than what they were saying, but they thought it was a better product. That's why we'll get a report from the
And
engineer.
why didn't they come back and modify the permit, or?
Why didn't they,
Well,
right?
have you been in Hawthorne where the motto in Hawthorne is it's easier to ask for forgiveness and permission? That seems to be the motto in Hawthorne.
Well, I'm
We need to change that, don't we?
Well,
I'm sure
we're
there was a
working on it.
stop work order and there was fines issued, correct?
If
No.
nobody can see it, you're more than welcome to come to the second floor of 83 North 8th Street. You could see it perfect.
See it, when you're right by you. can
It
see
looks like
What's the
something,
approximate address?
67 Goffel Road.
wow, that's pretty damn good.
That's
It's a golden steer.
the old Golden Steer property.
We'll look at it right away.
It's
you very much.
hard not to see.
All right. Just an update on the hydrant at Mohawk. I know we were waiting for a valve.
I'll check where we are with it, so. Bob, do you know whether we got the
I
valve?
don't have an update on that. I have the same information.
Okay.
If we could, because they all say do not use now, if we could put a bag upside down or whatever the process is of not using it, truly not using it, not do not use. All right. Dr. Boswell,
Yes, sir.
if I could trouble you to have an update on the Cedar Avenue punch list.
Yeah, I gave you that. He's done about half of it, and he's got the other half to go. We're trying to get it all done, Joe. We'll get it done as soon as he comes. It's hard to get him to come back, so we're working on it.
All right. And then lastly, and I don't know if it goes this to Dr. Boswell or administration, any roads in Ward 1, District 1 for any road improvements for the next go-around, if we could pull them, put in substitute roads, so that we're not repaving roads that are going to be cut into by PSE&J.
But we know there's, the only roads that had planned in that area were ones we got a CDBG grant for, so we can't, so we're looking at whether we can
I don't want to use the grant money and then they're going to rip into the
No,
road.
they would do the issue is how we coordinate. We obviously would not do the paving and then have them cut into it. That's
They can
not,
install
that's
their
not,
pipe
that's
first, hopefully.
off the question is, can we meet the timetable for CDBG by waiting? Or can we work around what they're doing in their schedule? Or can we substitute something? And so we're considering all those options with the county regarding the CDBG grant. And, you
And
know,
just so you know, Joe, I mentioned this in private to you. We give our paving schedule
Oh,
to service.
I've
years
never
in
faulted
advance.
Dr. Boswell's
And, it's
engineering or the new name. I
Because
apologize.
the worst thing in the world is to have them cut into a
Yep.
freshly paved road. We all hate it.
Trust me, you have always worked very well whenever I bring to you concerns, Elberon Ave, May Street. Your whole staff walked all of May Street with me, Cedar Avenue. I've definitely fought PSE&J. They've marked out the south end of Elberon Ave. I have no idea what they're gonna do there, but PSE&G came out, they're all marked up again. I don't even bring it up here because it's the same story over and over again.
Frustrating.
It is frustrating.
Yeah, I know that Steve got so frustrated working with it, he sold the company, but that's a whole different,
Jesus.
I didn't make fun of one of your comments.
Shoulda.
Yeah,
You had your chance.
I should have.
Gary?
Just a question. On the maps here updated, is that gonna take care of the confusion on my street? Because when,
Yes, it is. The tax maps are
well,
gonna.
you know, they said my bill, the town mails my bill to 200 Watchung Drive, but it says I live at 13 North
We don't have to
Watchung.
pay it.
And
Is that true? Because I live at 108
No, that is
Hill.
not
Oh, okay,
true.
I just
Let me
wanted
be
to.
clear.
I don't know how it affects the GPS, but if you put it in my address on the GPS, you'll never get there.
The tax map updates will get rid of any duplications, any crossovers, and any numbers that are wrong, they will all be fixed.
Because when I built the house there was no North Watchung. That was woodland up there.
No, that's what we're doing with the new tax. Fixing it.
So I assume all my neighbors got the same, because
Well.
Watchung goes around into U.
When Art landed
And
and he
they've got it painted in the street, North Watchung starts here, but it's no vendors can find it. Every time I order something, it's like, we can't find your house. That's it. They all use GPS, and the GPS says, keep on going, keep riding in circles.
Look at the money you're saving.
Well, there are actually, and I'm sure you've all seen this, there are places when they give their address and then they say, if using GPS.
Well, that's what I
put
do
in
now.
this address, which is very strange. but-
Yeah, that's what I do now. I order a pizza.
It's a comedy night tonight.
They bring it to my house, Gary.
Order from the same place, then they'll remember you.
I don't even pay for it. Gary's already paid for
I mean,
it.
they don't tell to keep the drivers long enough to.
That's true. That's true.
Right. Gary?
That's all.
Anything else? John?
I have nothing. Bruce?
No.
Steve?
Yes.
The tennis courts.
Yes.
This is the right price. This will cost us nothing, right?
Next
The
to
grant, the grants we got and the other
That's
money we
right.
got from
Between the grant from Columbia Bank and the grant from the county.
open space. Well, this should-
It will cover
Most of
virtually all, well, just about.
Everything
No.
other than the.
Engineering costs,
No, but if in terms of construction.
advertising.
Oh,
The
clarified that,
engineering
clarified
cost
that.
should be nothing because it's just,
Donated, right?
It's a killer
puzzle.
part.
You just put it together. It's
Well,
really
yeah,
not a big
No,
deal.
they're based on the percentage of the highest.
Ah, yeah.
The
I
town's
would,
coming
I'd
direct,
say keep going.
John,
they come with
Yes.
directions.
This is like comedy night here. It's like open mic night.
I just said that.
I had asked a question the last couple of meetings with regard to Fifth Avenue. The administration was going to try to set up a meeting with maybe some of the companies there. Has anything transpired?
Well, yeah, I'll have to. I'll have to check. The inspectors were, the fire marshal was going out to talk to the companies because he's also a zoning official. I will have to find out from him what the conversations were. But I know he had meetings, I just don't have the results of the meeting.
Okay. The other question that I have is, Eric, on the transfers tonight, from code enforcement, you're transferring $6,000 to code enforcement. Can you tell me why?
Yeah, we put, in this year's budget, we put 15,000 for, to spend on vacant and abandoned properties when there are issues. If they have to be boarded, if they have to be, have the grass cut. And we basically ran out of money, and we have some work that we have to do at Pan Chemical to secure that property. And this is where, and that line is where we budget that money. And we're getting money in as a revenue due to our vacant and abandoned property registration fees, but that doesn't automatically get reserved to that. So we budget money in code enforcement, and we just ran out of money this year because we had a couple
So
of big
right
items.
now, we have no money in the abandoned properties accounts?
No, we have money, the money that comes in when you register your property goes into the general fund.
It's just a revenue.
Okay,
And
all
we
right.
take a guess at what we're gonna spend in rehabbing, putting up fencing, cutting lawns or whatever. And we underestimated what it was gonna cost because we had some
We had
major board ups.
Two big ones this year, so it's just, we're gonna spend more money than we budgeted, so we're transferring money in to take care of that. It's still
Okay.
not as much money as we brought in.
We brought in more than we spent.
Okay. That's what was reported in the past, and that's why I questioned
Yeah, so
it.
It's just that the money isn't reserved for it, it just comes in as a general revenue, so we have to appropriate money to.
Okay, and then the other one is, we're transferring 35,000 into Shade Tree?
Yes, we did a review of everything that we had given to our contractor and estimate based on the rates that were given, and that's the amount that we need additional money to do what was assigned to them this year. And I think that partly the way we were doing it, we were sort of like paying it as the bills came in, so we paid for part of 2017 this year, but that's not the way it should be. We should have it encumbered everything we've assigned to them, and so this will get us caught up in paying what we've assigned to the vendor, so.
Okay, thank you. The other question that I have is, Dr. Boswell touched on it, but I have to say that Smith Sunday did a great job on the grading and the installing the blacktop. They also came back, and where there's bumps because of the new paving that has to go in the spring or the summer sometime, they fanned that out, and they really did a great job. It's a state-of-the-art building, let me tell you. If you go by there at night, the lighting, there's no reflection of the lighting onto properties. It stays right in our jurisdiction, and it's really a good building. Thank you, Steve. Mayor.
what'd Steve do?
That's all I have, Frank.
Okay. Anything else, Mayor?
No, we've had a great time.
Hey.
Happy New Year,
Cut
Merry
you some
Christmas.
slack tonight.
Thank you, we appreciate that. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all.
As well to you. Can I have a motion to record the administrative agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Sinning, second by Bertolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Introduction of ordinances, we have none this evening. Resolutions, off consent, we have R 203-18 budget transfers. Can I have a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Motion by Bertolo, second by Mealy. Any discussion? I think John went over a bunch of them. Roll call.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertolo.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Mealy.
Yes.
Sinning.
Yes.
Wojciechowski.
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Consent agenda R 193-18 through R 202-18. R 193-18 is Borough of Hawthorne payroll dated December 7th, 2018. R 194-18 debt service. R 195-18 is canceled bond ordinance balances. R 196-18 interfund transfers. R 197-18 is new vehicle for the water department. R 198-18 is Boswell LSRP services for the Gopple Hill and Mary Street water tanks. R 199-18 is Boswell Engineering Service for the asset management plan. R 200-18 is rejection of bids for the tennis court rehabilitation project. R 201-18 is 3 new vehicles. R 202-18 is Boswell Engineering Services for the South Station pump. You have a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mealy, second by Sinning. Any discussion?
Just real quick, Frank. Eric, I see 19718, we beefed that truck up. I think originally.
Yes.
I don't know
Was
if
it
that was a
250
typo,
or 150?
250.
And it actually didn't cost that much more money.
That's what I was.
Very little price difference to
Very little price
350.
difference, and that was a good
150 went back up
suggestion.
to-
We went from a 250 to a 350.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think
That's
it's
it.
$1,000.
Thank you.
To the upgrade.
Dominic, you're absolutely correct.
What's that?
We probably should have asked for it to be a 250 or 350 to begin with, because that's what we were replacing, weren't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And it looks like Boswell made his quota for his new bosses.
He's counting up the things on his phone right now. So, any other discussion? Roll call.
Wojciechowski.
Yes, ma'am.
Sinning.
Yes.
Mealy.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Bertolo.
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Reports of special council committees. John, we'll start your way.
No, I'm nothing.
Dominic.
I'd just like to congratulate our cheerleaders, doing a great job. And also congratulate Mr. Pasquale for a wonderful job he did with the band shell. I'm looking forward to next year, Michael. Big challenge for you.
Hopefully we'll have a country
we're-
western night that doesn't rain.
He will.
Yeah,
He will.
we've not been able to do that, have we? But, yeah, it was a great year. Thank you, Dominic.
Are you moving Dominic from the shadow committee?
No,
to the-
Dominic
No,
remains on the
he's working-
shadow
I have a
committee.
partner now, so.
Dominic remains permanently on the shadow committee.
Bruce.
No.
John.
No, finance met, well, we took action tonight with the transfers and the police cars and the other financial things we had to do, so that's it.
Gary.
I think Michael kind of made my report there.
Sorry, Gary.
I think that's all I really had. Oh, I just would like to mention that, I know the email that Eric sent us there regarding the Toys for Tots there.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. That was sent by Lori or Ellen. If you look at the totals, Hawthorne was by far and away the most generous community
Absolutely.
on the train line by, we
Thousands.
gave almost 3,700 toys. The next town may have been in the mid-20s.
And that was a much bigger town.
Correct, so.
Hawthorne had 3744, Oakland was 2145.
Right.
They were second, for a total of 13,000 toys collected along the run.
And there's still left more to go.
More to
because
go.
I
So
know-
we made up almost a quarter of all of the toys collected on this drive came from the good people of Hawthorne.
And I know there's gonna be more because I know.
Right, we have
those
some-
that are hair done, they have a couple boxes full.
Right,
of
we
hair
got
yet.
some stragglers
So
yet to
That number
go.
could go to 4,000 or more.
Yeah.
That's all.
Joe.
No report.
Okay.
I did like the dramatic pause, though.
Yes. Chamber of Commerce, their Chamber of Commerce Company of the Year will be dinner will be January 25th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. at Macaluso's. This year, instead of one large company, there's actually three organizations that will be honored. It will be Ozzy's Cafe, Paul's Motors, and the Volunteer Railroad Association. So it's a good mix of different members, companies. Planning Board, as the mayor stated, we met last night, and Bill Monahan is retiring from the Planning Board only.
Correct.
Not for any reason other than he wants to enjoy being with family a little bit more and not out in the evenings. As I stated earlier, certificate of compliance was announced that it was revoked for the zoning officer based on non-compliance with their certificate of compliance certificate. Transmission place in Myella's Furniture Building that's been a bad tenant in the back on North 8th, fixing repairs on registered vehicles, many cars on the grass on North 8th. He's just been a bad corporate citizen since day one. So end of the year, he shall be gone. Lastly, at a previous planning board meeting regarding the traffic and congestion that's on Utter Ave, there's a building for a nonprofit that wanted to expand their building and put a second floor on the corner of Utter and Fifth. If you read the Hawthorne Press, I was the only one to say no to it. Yeah, I was the bad guy for picking on a nonprofit.
It's just a small building.
But there's zero parking.
Yeah.
So they basically needed 19 variances to get it done. Being facetious, there was 12 variances. But it should have been,
Don't they use Churchill's property to park?
there is no formal, no, they use, yes, they use Churchill,
Churchill.
but there is no formal agreement with them, so it's not like they could even request more. They said there's not going to be an expansion of their intensity. However, whenever they do sell it, we always know it's the next guy that takes over, and if there's more space, they're going to fill it. So I was the bad guy. It passed anyway, but it's not going to add to the problem supposedly. I don't agree. And that's all I have for committee report. Correspondence, we have C1, firefighter applicant Cameron Geyer as a member of Company 4. Have a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Bertolo, second by Mealy. Any discussion? Roll call.
Bennett,
Yes.
Bertolo.
Yes.
Lane,
Abstain?
Mealy,
Yes.
Sinning,
Yes.
Woteki,
Abstain.
Matthews.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Matthews, just a question. On that application that came before the planning board, was it necessary to notify residents within 200 feet of that,
No,
of that
because
structure?
It was not a use variance. I asked why with so many variances was it in front of the planning board? And I was told it would only go to the zoning board if it was a use variance. I said, what about the expansion of a non-conforming structure? And they said, as long as it's the use, it didn't have to go, and there's no notification required.
I think the thing that's important to point out with this building is, and when they got their approval in 2006, I think, they said they would have 3 employees. It's 2018, they still have 3 employees. After the addition, they'll still have 3 employees. The biggest problem with that building is, I said at the meeting, it's a white elephant. It will never be able to be sold because there's no parking, and nothing will ever be approved with no parking over there. Also, in 2006, there was a note from the planning board to the building inspector or the construction official that said there are plans to add a second floor. They can't afford to do it at this time, but when they come in for their application, there's no issue. 12 years later, we felt they need to come back to the board to get the approvals again, but obviously this was discussed when the building was first purchased by this nonprofit group, and
Mayor, we really don't need to relitigate the whole situation. You supported it, I didn't.
Right.
It's an
I
expansion of a
understand that.
problem that's in that area.
I understand that, but again, Frank, you're supposed to represent the council on the planning board, not the 4th ward.
Well,
And I think you represented the 4th ward and not the council.
I do both.
You're not sent to the planning board to represent the 4th ward. You're sent to the planning board to represent the council.
I think this is out of order.
I believe so as well.
I'm willing to stop, but
Then
don't,
stop.
You got it.
Call the roll.
What are we voting on?
What are we
On
voting
Cameron.
on?
On Cameron, we have
I'm sorry.
motion and a second.
Voted on that.
Okay, then the bills.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're done. We're at bills.
Motion to approve the
Thank you.
bills and forward them to the treasurer for payment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mealy, second by Sinning. Any discussion on the bills? Roll call.
Woteki,
Abstain on the fire department, yes on all others.
Sinning,
Yes.
Mealy,
Yes.
Lane,
Abstain on the fire department and the ambulance corps, yes on all others.
Bertolo,
Abstain on Downs Tree Service, yes on all others.
Bennett,
Yes.
Matthews.
Yes, on all of
Motion
them.
carries.
Public comment, and I'll open the meeting to the public if anyone desires to be heard.
Just one thing, Councilman Sitting, your pizza's here.
I want to talk before you go.
That's from last week, though.
Anyone else in the public wish to be heard? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn the public portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Bertola, second by Mealy. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, before we adjourn, I just want to wish everyone at home a Happy New Year and a Merry Christmas, and thank you for a good year. Look forward to a prosperous one going forward. I want to wish everyone up on the dais and in the room a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year as well.
Could I make an
You as
announcement?
well.
Okay.
I'd like to make an announcement and why I've asked you to stay. My middle son, Alex, has enlisted in the Marine Corps. He leaves for boot camp January 28th.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Very nice.
Congratulations.
That is all.
You want to say the moniker? Semper Fi.
I'm starting to cry.
I said it for you.
Thank you.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Bertolo, second by Witecki. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next regular meeting will be January 2nd, 2019 at 7 PM. We're adjourned.